One of the most foundational and wondrous confessions of the Christian faith is this: in the birth of Jesus, God became a human being. God became flesh through the womb of Mary. This lies at the heart of Christianity, and it is the story of God's humility and love. So why did God become human? God became one of us to participate in the material creation as a creature. And through this participation, God affirmed creation and sanctified it once again. Becoming flesh, living in his own skin, and being raised in an immortal human body testifies to God's goal for the creation itself. The incarnation of God and the resurrection of Jesus attest to God's love for the creation and God's intent to make all things new, including the creation. God became one of us in order to unite God and humanity. Human beings were created in the image of God, and therefore there is an embedded similarity between God and humanity. While the union brings together the infinite and the finite, we were designed to be like God and share in the communion of the triune God. The incarnation is the actual union of God and humanity in the person of the Son. And through that union, God and humanity are enabled to share life together in a wondrous intimacy. God became one of us in order to reveal God to us. The life of Jesus tells the story of how God would act as a human being. In Jesus, we see who God is, how God behaves, and how God relates to people. We see God when we see Jesus. In this sense, Jesus is the truth, God in the flesh. We know our God because we know Jesus. God became one of us in order to experience and empathize with our suffering. God, as God, does not know what it is like to be thirsty, hungry, or to experience physical pain. God in Jesus, however, experienced all of these human frailties. In this way, God became empathetic with us through Jesus. God in Jesus is tempted like us and dies with us. God fully knows us, not just in God's head, but also existentially and experientially in a human life. God became one of us in order to redeem us through the sacrifice of God's own life in Jesus. As the one who is both God and human, Jesus is the mediator between God and humanity. God became human so that as a human being, God might suffer death as an act of divine self-substitution. God as a human experienced the wounds and stripes of our sin. And in this way, Jesus, as God in the flesh, confronted the powers of evil and defeated them through his obedience to the will of the Father in the power of the Spirit. The incarnation is not simply a necessary condition for the cross. It is much more. Through the incarnation, God becomes part of the creation, unites God and humanity in the person of Jesus, reveals God's identity, empathizes with our suffering, and redeems us through the cross. Without the incarnation, God is not fully and truly with us. Jesus, whose name means the Lord saves, is also called Emmanuel, which means God with us.